Society. Out of curiosity, is anybody here to one of our programmings for the first time? It's your first time. Welcome. It's not your first time, Craig. So thank you so much for coming. And please, return to our upcoming programs, which have been listed on the board. In March, on the 22nd, we'll be meeting at St. Patrick's All Saints Parish Hall to go over St. Patrick's Cemetery. And then in April, Michelle Kratz is the librarian for the Lewiston Library. She's going to be talking about organizing your genealogy, and that's at the Historical Society. And then in May, we're going to learn about how using timelining will help you fill in some missing holes in your research. And that's with Carol in the back, another one of our board members. And that's also at the Historical Society. So today, we have Craig Bacon. He's the County Deputy Historian. And he's going to be teaching us about the census records, which we use often to help us with our genealogy. So let's give Craig a warm welcome. Yay!
I'm glad you gave me a podium, because I get to talk, and it's going to be so great.
Stop it. Already? We just started.
I move around a lot. I'm Craig Bacon. I'm the Deputy Historian for Niagara County. I've been there for almost 11 yees, which does not seem possible at all. Love the job. Absolutely wonderful. The best.
Stop.
I have a question. Who wrote the description of this? Of course, it did say he was a genius.
Super genius.
I'm just saying, I was disputing, I just wondered, did you write it? Or?
Yes,
Yes, I did.
you catch on quick for your first meeting with us.
I guess it was about 2 months ago, Jeanette asked me if we could put a program together on the census, and my first reaction was, sure, why? If you've read the census, there's not a lot of excitement to it at first glance. I did find some exciting things out about the census, though, and they'll be in the program. I did this Monday night at the Pendleton Historical Society in an abbreviated version, and I flew through it in 30 minutes, so I figure I can do this one in about 35. And it helped break any nervousness I had about doing it, because this is fresh for me also. You ready to click to the next one?
I thought you winked at me.
Oh.
Hey.
It had nothing to do with the program. So I'm going to take a look mostly at the population schedules for both the federal census and the New York State Census. I'll talk a little bit about some of the other schedules. I'll tell you this up front, all the other schedules, 90% of them, 95% of them have all been destroyed, including a really great one that they put together in 1931 and 1937 about unemployment in the United States. They were completely destroyed. Intentionally.
Hey!
Now we can move on.
Yes.
I'll give you this one like that. So as in all my PowerPoints, I have Kate make it all pretty because mine will be plain and not have a lot of extra information in it. And the most famous census found in the book of Luke, Joseph goes to Bethlehem for the census, and that's the first census that we really think of. And of course, in England, there's the Doomsday Book, Christmas 1085, William the Conqueror. He wanted to find out the resources, and imagine this, the government wanted to know what they could tax, which is why they had a census. What it was worth, how much he got in rents, and the most important reason to have a census, everyone thinks it's to determine how many people are in their country, it's how many people are ready to serve in the military. You'll find around war times, the census becomes a huge tool for the United States government to use to find out who's already of age and who's coming of age soon. A typical listing in the Doomsday Book, and it'll tell you where 100 is kind of like a parish. I don't know exactly how to explain it. In the county of Gloucestershire, population tells you how many households, how much tax was assessed. 51 villagers, 40 smallholders, 35 slaves, 3 female slaves, 20 freedmen, and other resources and their value so that the king knew what he was going to be getting at the end of the taxing year. Before there was the United States of America, there were colonial censuses. Mostly it was so the British Crown could tax their subjects, which became a problem a little bit later. But in 1790, the census was mandated by Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution. And here we have John Adams signed it, George Washington signed it on March the 1st, 1790. Approved March the 1st, 1790, and then there's George Washington, President of the United States, John Adams, and then Frederick Augustus Muhlenberg, Speaker of the House of Representatives. It says that representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states, which may be included in this union according to their respective numbers. I want to know how many people how many free people there are who own land, tax it. And then they talk about the 3/5 of other people, which we know about later on. The actual enumeration should be made 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States and every subsequent term of 10 years. So all the censuses are on the 10 starting in 1790. The first census had a population just under 4 million. There's been a census every 10 years since 1790. The last was in 2010. The next will be in 2020, and it'll be a huge change. Internet only. Nothing's going to be mailed out. I actually called the Census Bureau to work on this program. I wanted to make sure that what I was reading was correct. What they'll do for the 2020 census is everything will be, you have to log on, and you have to put your census information in. It goes to every household of a tax-paying person. I'm not sure how it works for people who don't pay taxes. They weren't clear on that when I talked to them on the phone, and they didn't know either. And they said they actually have 3 years to worry about that.
Did you ask them if, what happens if somebody actually, I know it's probably inconceivable, doesn't have a computer?
Libraries. Libraries are going to be partnered with the, because I asked that. Libraries will be partnered with the Census Bureau, and we'll have computers set up at the libraries where we'll be able to do your census.
So, can I tell my cousin, who I'm always fighting with, that I want her to be on the internet, that she's got 3 years or else this?
Yeah, exactly. You know, not doing the census is a felony. I did not know that.
Well, I'm gonna call her up and tell her. I'm tired of this, having to put it in the mail.
That's a class D felony, so you can find up to $5,000.
Well, you know, if you don't tell her, she goes to jail. You know.
Where'd we go? From 1790 to 1840, as all you researchers know, they only show head of household, and there's numbers and other columns after that. Now you can switch. Thanks. It only made 6 inquiries in that initial census. Free white males of 16 years and upwards, and this was to determine the national military potential. Always about the military. The free white males under 16 years, free white females, and all of their free persons slaves. Records for Delaware, Georgia, New Jersey, and Virginia were lost. Almost a third of the original census data has been lost or destroyed. They still have the information, but the originals are gone. 1800 census, again, we're only getting the name of the head of household. And they break it down a little more. So the free white males and females under age 10. This one and this one for the male side were very important, because it told who could be conscripted into the military. Lots and lots of the military. Remember, I looked things up. Again, there were some states that were lost: Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, New Jersey. New Jersey had a terrible time with the census. Tennessee and Virginia have been lost. You can still find stuff, but the originals are all gone. We're going to fly through a couple of these first ones, because there's not a lot of information on them. 1810, we asked the same questions. From 1790 to 1820, there were no pre-printed forms, so they would have a pad of paper like John has, and they kind of make their own little their page. So if you look at ones from Genesee County, New York, and then you look at ones from Albany County, New York, entirely different setup. Every one of them is different.
Right. These that I ran off of the ancestry then.
They're the basics.
Oh.
They're the
Okay,
basics.
they're not actual.
Right. The 1790 and 1820 are what they would have printed if they had it, but the enumerators pretty much will follow the same pattern, but they wrote their own up. So nothing's entirely consistent. Enumerators were asked to collect economic data, but no schedule was prescribed, so there really is no information available, and not all the enumerators did it. 1820 asked a lot more questions. There's a Schuyler family in 1824, getting ready to answer their 1830 census as it comes up. They asked the number of foreigners not naturalized, people who were in agriculture, commerce, or manufacturing. Number of male and female slaves by age breakdown is the same as the free white males, females. All other persons except Indians not taxed. And then they asked for the number of free white males, 16 to 18, for military purposes. And there's been a district-wide loss of the census for Arkansas Territory, Missouri Territory, and New Jersey. 1830, we have our pre-printed forms, so these are the forms that you'll find on Ancestry that are definitely the ones that the government used. They asked for the same thing again, no other names except for head of household. They started asking about the number of deaf and dumb, blind, foreigners not naturalized. And they actually have a spot in there for if you're over 100 years old. That I would like to see the breakdown of.
Craig, what was the significance of deaf, dumb, and blind?
So they didn't know, around 1820, in the 1820s, the states and counties started doing institutions. So they're trying to determine what money should be prescribed for these institutions. 1840, again with deaf and dumb by race, blind by race. Number of insane and idiotic, public or private charge. See, now we got the institutions coming in, so they want to know, are they in a public institution or a private institution? Again, so they can dole out money to wherever it needs to go. Number of schools and scholars, who's in school. They had 7 classes of occupation, and I searched and searched and searched, cannot find what the codes mean. I have no idea. I asked the Census Bureau, and they said they're going to email me, and I haven't got anything back from them yet. And the number of pensioners for Revolutionary or 1812 service. It says or military service, but there's only Revolution and War of 1812 by then. Excellent. This was the first census to count residents who were insane or idiotic. The census showed extremely high numbers of black people living in non-slaveholding states who were mentally ill, in contrast with the corresponding figures in slaveholding states. In slaveholding states, the percentages didn't change from white to black for the number of people of the population who were mentally ill. In northern states, it was significantly higher than the average for the whole country. So pro-slavery advocates use this to say, listen, slavery's good. Of course, anti-slavery advocates contended that it was all wrong and they needed to have them corrected. John Quincy Adams believed that there were definitely problems with the census and it should be fixed, but John Calhoun declared the census was fully correct and was never revised. 1850 census, you get a lot more information. It has the names of everyone in the household, which is extremely important. Again, they're asking deaf, dumb, blind, insane, or idiotic. Value of real estate owned, which is interesting. If you're looking for your family, want to know what they lived in when they got here or when they were living here. They lived in a $300 log cabin or a $3,000 frame house. There's a big difference. The place of where they were born, state, territory, or country, whether they were married within the year, and whether they attended school within the year, and whether they were a pauper or a convict. Haven't figured out why they wanted that one yet. In those days, if you were poor, you were in like a debtor's prison, so it would kind of be the same. They had mortality schedules, beginning with, before going further, these two people are dead.
Oh my God.
This is a grandmother and granddaughter. Granddaughter died. Grandma had been dead. I'm pretty sure they dug her up so that they could take a picture.
Where'd you find that?
Is that the flavor you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, because you know what? The census is really boring. Starting in 1850, Congress decided to include a listing of people who had died the previous year from June 1st to May 31st of 1849 to 1850. They did this through 1880, and they asked a bunch of questions. The month in which the death occurred, profession, occupation, trade, disease, or cause of death. That's cool information. Number of days ill, parents' birthplaces, which was added in 1870. There's still some of these ones around. The 1850, 60, 70, and 80 are mostly intact.
Are those found with the regular census?
No. They're in an entirely different schedule, and I have the 1850 and 1860 part now. 1850, during the census, there was more controversy. Brigham Young wanted Utah to become a state, and Broughton Harris was the secretary of the Utah Territory, and they were at odds with each other. They both wanted Utah to become a state, and Broughton Harris wanted to be above board completely all the way, and wanted to tell everybody exactly how it was and how great Utah was. Brigham Young didn't think that they would be allowed to come into the Union if they had slaves, so he did his own census, hired his own people to do the census, and they vastly underreported the number of slaves. According to Brigham Young's census, there were less slaves in the state of Utah than what he actually owned. So Harris decided, I'm not going to pay you. And he refused to pay the federal funds out for the 1850 census to Brigham Young and his followers. This was the start of some tensions between the government, the governing body of Utah, and the Mormon population. It ended up being an armed conflict in 1857 and 1858 between Mormon settlers and the forces of the U.S. government, and there were several people killed. It didn't last very long. It was put down rather quickly. But there, it's one instance of American troops firing on American citizens. That's because it came out of the 1850 census. 1860 was the first census where American Indians were officially counted, but only if they had renounced their tribal law. So if you were Seneca and you said, I no longer want to be a Seneca, but by blood I am, then you can be counted on the census. It's kind of odd. The census asked the same questions in 1850. They added the number of visitation by the dwelling house and then the family. So if you had two families living in a house, it was dwelling number 1, family 2, dwelling number 2, family 3. So the numbers don't always match up when you're looking at the census. In 1860, their slave schedule showed where the population of slaves were living. And this here is the Mississippi River. And you see that's the darkest area. There's some over here in Georgia, South Carolina, but really along the Mississippi River is where you find most of the slaves in 1860. Various counties sometimes exceeding 80% of the overall population, so that's a high number. 1870, it was the first to record the nativity of the American population, asking whether parents were foreign-born or American-born. Additional questions were whether the person was born within the year. Another controversy was that they didn't think that the population numbers were high enough. Americans thought they were proud that they were growing westward and getting a larger country, and they didn't like the numbers that were reported. So President Grant ordered a recount in New York City and Philadelphia. It only gave them a little bit more than what the population was, but people still think that it was underreported by over 1 million people. This is a guy going out getting the census information. This poor little kid does not look happy that he's being asked questions. And I'm not sure that you gather around at the local watering hole like that to answer census questions either. That's pretty interesting. 1880 census. This was the first census when women could be hired to be enumerators. At our office, we have the physical books of the 1880 census. We're probably not going to see them because they're in fragile condition. For a long time, and Marcia can tell you, they were the only census book for the 1880 that you could actually look at that wasn't indexed. It's now all indexed. So I went through several years ago at Lockport, and I can't remember where else it was. We're unindexed, and I went through. It took me 4.5 months to index Lockport. That's all indexed now. It took 8 years to process this census. Because of that, Herman Hallrich was hired to build a tabulating machine for the 1890 census. There's their tabulating machine, there's the census. It only took, I think 6 weeks? Yeah, 6 weeks to process this census. First census tabulated by machine. Again, there's a controversy, and Americans expected the population to be about 75 million. When it came in at 63 million, there was a massive uproar that people weren't doing their jobs and getting paid for not doing their work. And they also said the frontier no longer existed. There was no Wild West. Everything went all the way from sea to shining sea. I cringe when I read these next couple slides. They show that they ask for the address, number of families in the house, number of persons in the house, the names, whether they were a soldier, sailor, or marine during the Civil War, or a widow of such person, relationship to the head of house, and the number of children and how many still living, the place of birth for each person, and their mother and father. So we got a bit more information on the 1890 census when it was still in existence. Then they asked if foreign born, how long in the U.S., whether they're naturalized, or if they had papers taken out, where they worked, unemployment for the year, could they read or write, and could they speak English, and if they couldn't speak English, what language did they speak? If they were a prisoner, convict, homeless, child, or a pauper, was the home owned or rented, and whether it was free for mortgage. Now we come into all the nastiness of the 1890 census. Almost all the population schedules, and there's a picture of it right there. 1890, they were damaged in a fire in the basement of the Commerce Building in 1921. 25% of the census was completely destroyed, another 50% was heavily damaged, leaving 25% behind. When the head of the Census Bureau came to the Commerce Building to collect his records, the Secretary of Commerce said, hold on, we can't take anything out of the building until the insurance adjusters get here. So those books sat in ankle-deep water for 4 more days. So some of those books could have been saved. After the fire in 1921, the records were kept for 4 days until the insurance adjuster could appraise the scene. The damaged books, the ones that were completely destroyed, were taken to a warehouse in May, and they were later returned to the Census Bureau for reevaluation in 1990. So we're still in existence. But that picture breaks my heart too. And in December of 1932, the Librarian of Congress was given a list of papers to be destroyed. Among those papers, on that list were the 1890 census, and he felt that they didn't need to be saved and ordered them destroyed. So in 1934 and 1935, the surviving census records that they knew of for the 1890 census were burned. And here's where it's going to break your heart a little bit. In March of 1896, the original 1890 census schedules, mortality, crime, pauperism, death, dumb, blind, and insane, badly damaged by fire, and destroyed by order of the Department of the Interior. At that time, the general population schedules were reported to be in good condition. So they were there, and they were still good.
But they were destroyed.
They were destroyed, yep. In 1942, a bundle of damaged 1890 population schedules from Illinois was discovered. In 1953, they found more, covering parts of Alabama, Georgia, Illinois, New Jersey, New York, North Dakota, North Carolina, South Dakota, Ohio, Texas, and D.C. 63 million names on the census, 6,100 of them still exist on the census form. Luckily, the 1890 veteran schedule has 75,000 veterans' names and their widows on there. States Alabama through Kansas and half of Kentucky were destroyed before 1943 by order of the Librarian of Congress, thinking they were not needed, and he was stopped. Now, keep in mind that this one particular Librarian of Congress served for 30 years and is still considered the greatest Librarian of Congress ever.
Not by some people.
Yeah, not by people in this room, I'd say. 1900, they asked the same questions as the 1890 for the most part. Occupation, once not employed, whether they attended school during the year, whether they worked on a farm or they were a farmer. Just a few extra questions from the 1890. 1910, not a lot changed. They added initials. Even though there were some on the earlier census, they specifically asked for initial on the 1910 census. Mother of how many children, how many still living. if they were citizens or if they were naturalized, the year they immigrated here, what their papers were, language, occupation, education, veteran of Union or Confederate forces, the blind, deaf, and dumb again. The 1910 census changed the date of the census from June 1st to April 15th. June 1st had been the date of the census since 1830. And also, finally, after the fire, before the fire, they actually started the Census Bureau. The fire in 1921 led to the development of the National Archives. So there was that good story coming out of that fire in 1921. The census was important for military purpose. When the U.S. entered the war in 1917, they were able to use the data to report draft age men, as well as each state's industrial capabilities. Again, the census fed the war machine. I don't know why Kate put that in there. It's some book about the guy who did the census. Not sure what it is or why it's in there. It's a Kate addition. 1920, the population exceeded 100 million for the first time. They didn't ask about unemployment, and they didn't ask about military service during the Civil War. They didn't ask about how many children have been born or how long they've been married. No summer schedule for Indians. They asked questions about the mother tongue, and for genealogical purposes, it's wonderful. If your ancestor came from Austria-Hungary, Germany, Russia, or Turkey, they didn't say those states, they didn't say those countries' names. They gave the province or the state in that country from which they came. 1930 census, almost identical to the last two. They asked whether the family owned a radio or not. Radio was big in 1930. And foreign born, what language did you speak before moving to the U.S.? If you were a veteran, class worker, again, they couldn't tell me what the classes meant, the Census Bureau. I called them 8 or 9 times. If you're an Indian, whether full or mixed blood, and your tribal affiliation. Because of the Great Depression, the census was unprepared for unemployment data, so in 1931, they put an unemployment schedule together to determine what the severity of the depression was. And the second one was taken in 1937, and it was only expected if you were unemployed to return the forms. They were completely destroyed. They collated the data, but all the individual data is gone. 1940 census. Uncle Sam there looks like he's up to no good. That's what I think. They asked the highest education obtained, the location of residence 5 years previous, and if they were working in private, non-emergency government work or public emergency work. They're trying to determine during the Depression, was the government paying for your wages? Was it because of an emergency situation like the WPA or CCC, or were they doing other work for the government, or if they were still working in the private sector? How long you were working each week and how much you were getting paid. And they want to know what the wages were. They're trying to determine what the wealth of the nation was during the Great Depression.
What was did you say the significance of the question, where were you living in 1935 on that 1940 census? Why did they ask that?
They believe that because of the Depression, people were moving to where there were jobs, and so there was a mass exodus from one area of the country to another area, and they wanted to prove that. Why is there extra population in, say, Buffalo than in Rochester suddenly? Like the population in Rochester rose by 1.2% over the last 10 years, but it rose by 15% in Buffalo. Why? So were the people who lived in Rochester and came to Buffalo and now working on the barges coming into the harbor, so it shows that they're working. The census follows the 72-year rule. Government doesn't release any information until 72 years after it's collected for the census purpose. It restricts access to everybody except the individual named or their legal heirs. And that comes in handy occasionally when someone wants to get a passport and doesn't have a birth certificate. So you have to prove where you live, so if you're a citizen. So if you are on the 1950 census and you need to get that information, they can open that for you and give you that information. It is a pain, but it can be done. Again, it's the second one of those. I have that in there. The next one. The United States are broken down by regions for the census. So this poor guy has a big region. Each person, there's a director for each region. This poor guy does a lot of traveling to make sure all his enumerators are doing their job. California is with Hawaii and Texas. And then, New York has Puerto Rico and the whole Northeast. And New York City has its own little area. I thought it was a pretty cool little map. Show how it's broken down. The release dates for the next censuses, 2022 will be the next one that we can look at. First one that I'll be on will be in 2052. Yes. New York State conducted their own censuses on the fives for the most part, from 1825 to 1875. They skipped to 1885, did it 1892, then brought back the fives in 05, 15, and 25. Because of the Great Depression, they did not do a 35, and they never resurrected the practice. 1825, 35, and 45 are very basic, like the pre-1850 federal census. They asked who the head of family was, followed by the number of males and females in the house. Also indicated males who were eligible to vote and serve in the militia. All these books were lost in 1911 when there was a large fight at the New York State Library, lots of fires with censuses. They're like trailer parks and tornadoes. There are a few remaining books, nothing for Niagara County. They do have all three censuses for these years for Cattaraugus and Chautauqua County. A horrible story that I didn't put in here. When they determined what was left after that fire in 1911 and 1922, right after they lost the 1890 census, the state archives had their, state library had the census on shelves, and they needed shelf space. So the director at the library told one of his assistants to make room for something new that was coming in. So she started methodically destroying what was left of the 25, 35, and 45 censuses. She was fired, she went to jail, she was fined.
Oh, sorry. Can you read that?
Nope, we're good. 1855 census is my favorite census. It sounds weird, but I love the 1855 census. It gives a ton of information. It tells you the years resident in the city or the town. So if your family was born in Schenectady but moved to Niagara County, it'll tell you how long they have lived in Niagara County. It's a wonderful thing. They also ask over 21 who cannot read or write, owners of the land. Pretty much the same as a federal census, but that how long they lived in a place, that comes in handy. We have indexed at the historian's office, town and village of Lockport, Cambria, Heartland, Newfangs District 1 and 2, Pendleton, Burlington, Somerset, Mayfield. Missing are Porter, Lewiston, Niagara, Wilson, and the village of Suspension Bridge, Niagara Falls. There's a mystery about that second district, because according to the state archives, it was never lost, it was never destroyed, but it's never been found. So who knows what happened to it. So I think that we should plan a trip to the state library and just go through their basement and attics. It's got to be there somewhere, along with all the militia records from each county. Before World War I, the state asked for all the militia records across the state to be sent to Albany so they could be copied. They were never returned. And now they don't know where they're at. So each county had a list of all the militiamen from their inception all the way up to 1900. The state lost them. 1865 and 1875, they're virtually identical to the 1855. They are asked the parent of how many children, number of times married, the usual place of employment, and servicemen, whether they were currently or formerly in the military, especially during the Civil War. This was a big deal. In 1875, they added a couple more of those. They don't ask how many children were born. They don't ask how many times they were married. But those in the military service list their home state before they were entered the military. So if you're stationed at Fort Niagara, you're on the Niagara County's, you're in the town of Porter's census. But if you're from Texas, it lists Texas as being your native state.
Why was New York doing state census and not other states?
Other
Like,
states did do censuses too. Not all of them,
didn't,
no.
yeah. Well, like, but what were they gaining? What were they after?
Tax money.
It's New York State, whatever,
Yeah. We were the fastest growing state in the country during most of the 19th century. So I think they're trying to keep a handle on what the population actually was for tax purposes. 1892 census. There is no 1885 census. Preliminary research that I've done indicates that there are political reasons behind no 1885 census being done. There was also a small recession, 1884, 85, 86, and it could be the state didn't have the money to do it. It does point towards the governor not liking the guy that was running the census for the state, but I haven't verified that yet. 1892 census was not done to replace the 1890 census. I hear that all the time. Well, they did the 1892 census as a stopgap for the lost 1890. Nope, didn't happen. The 1892 census was directed by the new governor, Roswell Flower, who has the greatest name in political history. And this one's kind of it's hastily thrown together. It doesn't separate the people by family, so you kind of have to guess. And it's just listed. Everything's listed. Just lists name, sex, age, color, citizen, or alien, and occupation. And not, like I said, nothing's separated. So you don't know whether they're living with other family or if they're neighbors. If you're on the same street, it's kind of it's still there. It helps us with there being no 1890 census. But 1905, we're back to the fives again. There are fairly simple questions: name, address, relationship, same thing. If they were inmates of institutions, whether they were paupers, whether they were convicts, blind, deaf, dumb, idiotic, they would list their residence at the time of admission. And on some of them, it's not on all of them, someone will tell you why they're in that institution. In 1915, I think they actually do tell that. They asked the same questions in 1915 and 25. They listed a separate schedule for infants under 1 year old, so all the newborns in the last year are listed on a separate schedule. New York State destroyed that. There's no state census taken in 1935 because of the Great Depression. The state never revived the practice afterwards. I don't think they need to anymore with their digital society. They pretty much know how many people are everywhere because they keep tabs on us. It's great. I wanted to put the picture of the Census Bureau up there. That's the building that they operate out of. And they have these wavy things that look like pages. So you drive by, it looks like pages of books. Like you would see the census sitting on shelves. They should be stored flat. I want to tell them that. But anyone have any questions?
Yeah.
Told you 35 minutes.
Various census come to the Burgos area, separate individual one.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes, especially if you were a very close-knit community that was from, like Burgos, Walkinsville had kind of a census also, a listing of their villagers at certain times. And they did it mostly so that it had nothing to do with the military, it had nothing to do with taxation. I think it had more to do with make sure families, general families were moving for more like for church purposes than.
Was there an existing one for Burgos?
I don't know. Right down his house we have to.
Okay.
It was terrific. It was the best ever.
Jesus, stop it. Does anybody else have any questions for Craig while we have him? Or just about what other records you hold at your office besides census?
We have some Duke Wilmington. We have church records. We're Lockport centric on the church records. I say that unfortunately because that means that the other areas aren't as well represented, but we're working on that. We've gotten some wonderful ones from Middleport and Casper.
How about birth records around 1800?
Nope, no such thing. New York State did it passed that law. 1881 is when they're supposed to start that.
Right.
And some areas, I know Lockport has pre-1881 birth records, not very many, but they do. Same thing with marriage records. Town of Lockport, we have some 1825 through 1828 birth and death records, very sporadic though, they're not a full book. Sometimes Justice of the Peace records have births and deaths in them. I know we have one Justice of the Peace record book from Porter, has some information in, and we have a lot from Niagara Falls, and I haven't gone through those to see what's in them. Church records are best for the birth records, but nothing that early. 1832, Grace Church in Lockport. Those are the earliest birth records, baptism records we have. And then St. John's in Lockport, 1842.
You said there were some Wilkesville census records? You
Yeah, we
have
don't have
those or Ralton has them?
Neither one. They were done by the church, so we find them in the back of a church book occasionally.
Oh, okay.
Or Buzz Bruni has them, because he has everything in Walkinsville.
Any other questions for Craig?
What year was the uniform census form?
1830.
1830? So before that, it's just a mixture of information?
It's just they wrote up their own, put their own lines, everything's all mostly handwritten, hard to read sometimes.
Oh,
They were told what they needed to ask. By the 1820, they kind of figured out that they were just going to put what columns, column for the name, and then columns for the males and stuff, males and females by age group. But I use those same papers, even for the 1798 200 ones,
right.
because you can figure it out.
Do they know what started the fire?
In 1921, at the Commerce Building,
No.
there's two theories. One is electrical short, which is probably not it. And the other one is they used to smoke. They could not smoke inside the Commerce Building because of all the paper in it. But you could smoke outside. And if you look at the pictures where people could stand the smoke and they flick their butts, there's the window to the basement. Because the fire definitely started in the basement. So I probably flicked the butt and it went in the window.
With the wells or something?
Or just like the window was open. I don't know why. Probably airflow.
Craig, you've given us such a wealth of information this afternoon, and it was wonderful. Is there a particular source that you would recommend that we could refer back to, or would you be putting this information into, say, perhaps a booklet form or something on a website that we can go and refer back to?
I could probably do that.
That would be wonderful, because I mean, it's hard to remember all the stuff and then, you know.
Plus, it's going to be on YouTube.
Yes, we've been recording it, so you can watch it when we upload it. Niagara County Genealogical Society has a YouTube channel, and when any presenter allows the presentation to be recorded, you can go back and then rewatch it and catch things. You can pause and rewind. Oh, what did he say just there again? You know, and things like that. So you can check out. We've been doing that now for 1 or 2 years now. So
You should really consider putting this into written form. It was wonderful.
It took me, like, from the day you told me this is the subject we wanted, I worked on it 3 days a week until 2 weeks ago.
Actually, what she just said would be very easy for you to do because
Yeah,
you
just
already
print out
have it
that.
written on all those slides. And you could even email it to anybody that wanted it
I
emailed.
can email Jeanette.
Okay.
You can hand it out to whoever.
I already have it on the flash
Yeah,
drive. So.
there you go.
Yeah, if you allow us, we can put it right on our website.
Will
That'd be
you
cool.
allow it? 'Cause-
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Craig?
I'm anti-authority, so.
Well, thank you all very much for coming. And, you know, we ended a little bit early. If you have some spare time, you can go on over to 215 Niagara Street. Go visit our library. One of our board members is up there right now. You can do some research while you're in the Lockport area. And then please come to our upcoming programs the next couple months. It's free even if you're not a member. And if you'd like to become a member to get you know, our newsletter and other benefits, there's some membership forms in the back where Shelley and Carol are sitting. And then I just want to say again, and let's give Craig another thank